Good morning, everybody. Hope you're doing well. Most important, I hope you're off this week. Wouldn't that be awesome if we were all off? Anyway, hope you had a great Christmas. Ours down here in Southeast Texas, I'm going to be honest with you, actually kind of sucked. Bad storms came through on Christmas Eve, knocked power out Christmas morning for about 7 hours. Then a couple days later, more storms, more tornadoes. It was Southeast Texas, the weather kind of ruined Christmas. But anyway, I hope yours was good. We're going to go over some things that happened last week, preview some things that are coming up this week. Before we get started, hit that subscribe button down there. We got a lot of news items to cover. Some of them are old from last week, but we'll go over them anyway. Anyway, let's get to it. Vandy quarterback Diego Pavia, he won his lawsuit. So the NCAA grants a waiver that lets former junior college players have an extra year of eligibility at the FCS, FBS level. So because of Diego Pavia's lawsuit, now junior college transfers will get an extra year of eligibility. Georgia Tech wide receiver Eric Singleton Jr., he transfers to Auburn. Georgia quarterback, probably heard about this, Carson Beck, out for the season with an elbow injury. Well, he's going to go ahead and enter the NFL draft. Former Purdue tight end Max Clare, he transfers to Ohio State. Notre Dame defensive lineman Riley Mills, out for the season with a knee injury. He's their sack leader. Man, that really sucks. Same thing with Carson Beck. They got their playoff games coming up. Fresno State quarterback Mikey Keene, he transfers to Michigan. Oregon safety Tyler Turner transfers to Baylor. Cal quarterback Fernando Mendoza, he's transferring to Indiana. Texas Tech outside lineman Sterling Porcher, he enters the transfer portal. No word yet on when he's going. Basketball news here, man. Did you hear about this? Miami basketball coach Jim, how do you say his name? Larganasa? Anyway, steps down. They're 4-8 this year, not doing as good as they have the last couple of years. Cites frustration over NIL, since that's for his abrupt exit, NIL frustrations. Well, kind of knew this thing was going to cause problems. I mean, they still haven't roped it in and got a handle on it yet. Same thing with the transfer portal, as you can see. So he finally got frustrated with it and steps down. So he's no longer the basketball coach in Miami. I think this happened last week, Tuesday or something, maybe Monday. Former Philadelphia Eagles wide receiver Deshaun Jackson, he is now Delaware State's new head coach, following in the footsteps of Coach Prime and Michael Vick. He's going to try his hand at coaching. Tulane star running back Malik Hughes, he enters the transfer portal. Lost their great quarterback, and now they're running back. So Tulane is, hopefully they can pick some people up in the offseason. Tennessee running back Dylan Sampson, he enters the NFL draft. Michigan running back Khalil Mullings, he enters the NFL draft. Washington State, they have hired South Dakota State's Jimmy Rogers as their new head coach. South Dakota State got bumped from the playoffs by, who did they lose to? Montana State? Was it? I think Montana State they lost to, yeah. Anyway, he's going to be the new coach of Washington State. University of Houston, they're really sucking up stuff out of this transfer portal. Connor Wakeman from Texas A&M, quarterback, which I was never too crazy about. U of H has him now. Harvey Broussard, wide receiver from Louisiana Raging Cajuns. Mark Thomas from UAB, wide receiver. Jason Brooks Jr., offensive lineman from Oklahoma State. Mackenzie Angelo, offensive tackle from New Mexico. Matthew Wyckoff, offensive lineman from Cal. Dalton Merriman, offensive lineman from Texas Tech. Alvin Ebador, offensive lineman from Baylor. Got all these guys out of the transfer portal. I know U of H wasn't happy with the way their season went. They did have some good wins, though. I mean, they beat Kansas State, and I forget, they beat somebody else that they shouldn't have beaten. So they're just trying to stack things up, get ready for next year. And North Carolina State wide receiver Kevin Concepcion, he goes to Texas A&M via transfer portal. I forget what game it was. I was watching North Carolina State and, God, I forget who they played. But Man, Concepcion, he had like 2 or 3 touchdowns catches in that game. So he's going to A&M, which I'm happy about. So we'll see now if we could just get a new offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator. Things will probably be hunky-dory there in College Station. All right, so we're going to go back, like I said last week, review some things. Monday football, Myrtle Beach Bowl, UTSA beat Coastal Carolina 44-15. UTSA actually led this game 27-0 in the third quarter. Just kept pouring it on. Idaho Potato Bowl, Northern Illinois beat Fresno State 28-20 in 2 overtimes. Basketball, Charleston beat Loyola Chicago 77-68. DeWilt Tavares from Charleston, 30 points. He hit 7 3-pointers in that game. Number 1 Tennessee moved to 12-0. They beat 9-4 Middle Tennessee, 82-64. Tennessee's Lanier, 23 points, hit 5 3-pointers. That was kind of, we have a theme every week, something that goes on. This is kind of a theme this past week in basketball. A lot of guys hit 5 3-pointers. You'll see here in a little bit. North Dakota State moved to 11-4. They beat Cal Bakersfield by 34. North Dakota State, as of Monday, 8 straight victories. Oregon State, they moved to 10-2. They beat Oakland 80-74 in overtime. Oregon State hit 11 3-pointers in that game. 5-8 Seattle beat 8-4 Washington 79-70. Moncrief from Seattle, 23 points, 16 rebounds. Hell of a game for him. Nebraska, they moved to 9-2, beat 7-4 Hawaii, 69-55. Bryce Williams from Nebraska had 32 points in that game. Moving to Tuesday, we had a classic Hawaii Bowl Christmas Eve, didn't we? South Florida beat San Jose State 41-39. Took 5 overtimes. Both of them in the season 7-6. I gotta be honest with you. After about the third overtime, I'm kind of bored with the game and wish somebody would just win. I mean, they really, in my opinion, they really got to do something about this overtime because, like, we had some there 7 overtimes. I don't know, man. I just get bored with that stuff, especially when it gets down to the 2-point conversion, and they got to do something. I mean, they really do. Some people love it. I'm not a fan of it. Wednesday, basketball, Diamond Head Classic, 7-6 Murray State beat 9-4 Loyola Chicago, 71-68. 10-3 Charleston beat 7-6 Charlotte, 84-81. 8-4 Hawaii beat Oakland, 73-70 in overtime. 10-2 Nebraska beat 10-3 Oregon State, 78-66. Nebraska went on a 6-0 run to finish that game. Bryce Williams, 25 points. 11 of those points were in the final 6 minutes of that game. Thursday football, Toledo beat Pitt in the Sports Bowl, 48-46, 6 overtimes. Toledo ends the season 8-5. Pittsburgh ends at 7-6. Pittsburgh, remember, they started off on fire. Were they 7-0, I think it was? And then they just lost like their last 5 games. Totally crazy. Kansas State beat Rutgers 44-41 in the Rate Bowl. Kansas State ends 9-4. Rutgers ends 7-6. Rutgers, they start off real good. Went on a losing streak this season. Went back on a winning streak, but they still finished 7-6. Arkansas State beat Bowling Green 38-31 in the 68 Ventures Bowl. Arkansas State 8-5. Bowling Green ends the season 7-6. No college basketball on Thursday for some reason. I don't know why. Friday football. Navy beat Oklahoma 21-20 in the Armed Forces Bowl. Navy 10-3. Hell of a year for them. A hell of a year for Army too. Kind of a shame Air Force didn't have a good season, so all 3 service academies could have a hell of a year. But anyway, Oklahoma 6-7. Boy, that's weird saying that. Oklahoma ends the season 6-7. I think the last time that happened was maybe before Bob Stoops got there. What was that guy's name? John Blake. I think late 90s. Vanderbilt beats Georgia Tech 35-27 in the Birmingham Bowl. Both end up 7-6. Hell of a year for Vandy. Beat Alabama. Almost beat Texas. Great year for Vandy. I can't wait to see what they do the next couple of years. Arkansas beat Texas Tech 39-26 on Liberty Bowl. Arkansas ends up 7-6. Texas Tech finishes the season 8-5. Syracuse beat Washington State 52-35 on the Holiday Bowl. Holiday Bowl is always a good game. Syracuse 10-3. Nice turnaround after things that happened with Dino Babers era. Washington State, still a good season, 8-5. Um, Texas A&M, man. Like I said, we need a new OC and a new DC. 17-point lead in the second half. They blow that. USC wins 35-31 in the Las Vegas Bowl. USC ends on a high note, 7-6 after all the crap they've gone through. A&M is the season 8-5. Friday, basketball was light. Only 2 games. Number 25 Baylor, they moved to 8-3, beat Arlington Baptist 107-53. Norchad Amir from Baylor, 19 points, 24 rebounds. Wow, that's crazy. UConn on Saturday. UConn, man, good turnaround for them. Finished the season 9-4. Beat North Carolina, who's finished their season 6-7. 27-14 in the Fenway Bowl. Hell of a turnaround for UConn. They just not have been good the last couple of years. 9-4, man. That's something to be proud of. Nebraska wins its first bowl game since 2015. Beat Boston College 20-15. Both of them in 7-6. Remember, Boston College started off pretty good, 4-5-0 at the beginning of the season. Kind of fell off a little bit. Let's see. TCU, man, they just annihilated Louisiana 34-3 in the New Mexico Bowl. TCU 9-4. Louisiana though 10-4 finished the season. You want to at least get 10 wins, and they did. Number 18 Iowa State beat number 13 Miami 42-41 in the Pop-Tarts Bowl. Back and forth. It was a shootout. You know, a lot of time announcers during a game will say, whoever's got the ball last is going to win. And, well, Iowa State ends 11-3. Miami ends 10-3. Hurricanes were 1-3 in their last 4 games of the season. Kind of crazy. Let's see. Miami of Ohio, they beat Colorado State 43-17 in the Arizona Bowl. Miami of Ohio finishes 9-5. Colorado State finishes 8-5. East Carolina beats North Carolina State 26-21 in the Military Bowl. Colorado, they effed around and they found out, losing to BYU 36-14 in the Alamo Bowl. BYU finishes the season 11-2. Colorado 9-4. Still a great season for Colorado. Good turnaround. Independence Bowl. Number 22, 12-2 Army beat 5-7 Louisiana Tech 27-6. I would have loved to see them play the team they were supposed to play. Marshall, Army and Marshall would have been a pretty good game, I think. But it didn't happen thanks to all the Marshall players pussing out and hitting the transfer portal. So La Tech jumped in there and they got beat. I get these dumb messages on my pad. It's like, hey, you want to meet later? I don't know who the hell you are, and no. Quit bothering my shit. All right, basketball. Georgetown moved to 11-2, beat Coppin State by 30. Sorber for Georgetown, 22 points, 12 rebounds. Maryland moved to 11-2. They beat Maryland Eastern Shore 87-66. Maryland, Reese. 23 points, 11 rebounds. Nice game for him. St. Joseph moved to 9-4. They beat Delaware State 76-58. George Mason beat Mount St. Mary's 64-56. George Mason is 9-4 now. DePaul, they moved to 9-4. Beat Loyola Maryland 84-65. Memphis moved to 10-3. They beat number 16 Ole Miss, who's 11-2, 87-70. Rogers for Memphis, 28 points, 4 rebounds. Hit 6 3-pointers in this game and 10 free throws. So he was on. Haggerty, 17 points, 7 rebounds, 6 assists. Ole Miss was led by Padula, 13 points. Murray had 12 points. Memphis, 48% from the field. Ole Miss, 36% from the field. Memphis, 12 points off of turnovers. And Ole Miss committed 5 more fouls in that game. Davidson, they moved to 10-3. They beat Eastern Michigan, 86-64. New Mexico, they moved to 10-3. They beat Colorado State 76-68. See, I got that message from that whore off my screen, and then I screwed everything up. No, well. Hopefully she doesn't message me again. Texas A&M moved to 11-2, beat Abilene Christian 92-54. UCLA, they moved to 11-2, beat 9-4 Gonzaga by 3. UCLA only shot 36% from the field, but they did have 18 points off of turnovers in that game. Columbia, they moved to 11-1, beat Fairfield 85-72. Boise State moves to 10-3, beat San Jose State by 2. Degenhart for Boise State, 26 points, 7 rebounds. St. John's, they moved to 11-2, beat Delaware 97-76. St. John's, 61% from the field. 8-3, San Diego State lost to 12-1 Utah by 1. Utah State's Anderson hit three-pointer with 61 seconds left. Looks like that's what I wrote. Grand Canyon moved to 9-4, beat San Diego 68-55. Santa Clara moved to 9-5, beat Pepperdine 91-80. Elon moved to 9-4, beat Marshall 73-59. UC San Diego, they're 12-2, beat Occidental 109-50. Washington State is 11-3, beat Portland 89-73. Washington State hit 14 three-pointers in that game. St. Mary's, they're 11-3, beat Pacific by 10. St. Mary's only 38% from the field, but they did have 16 points off of turnovers. UTEP is 10-3. They beat Northern New Mexico by 19. Cal State Northridge is 9-4, beat La Sierra 87-52. San Francisco, they are 11-3, beat Loyola Marymount 70-55. Moving on to Sunday, Central Connecticut 9-4. They beat J&W Providence, I think that is, some junior college, I guess, 100-51. 6-7, Quinnipiac beat 8-5 Hofstra, 65-69 or 75-69 in overtime. Florida, they are 13-0. They beat Stetson by 40. Stetson only shot 27% from the field. That's how you lose by 40. Penn State, they're 11-2. They beat Penn by 20. Ace Baldwin Jr. for Penn State, 23 points, 10 assists in that game. Northwestern, they are 10-3. They beat Northeastern, who's 8-5, by 25. Ty Berry for Northwestern, 23 points. He also hit 5 3-pointers in that game. Marist are 9-2. They beat Binghamton 69-51. Marist was actually down by 4 at halftime in that one. Georgia, they are 13-1. Beat South Carolina State by 7. Georgia is down by 17 at one point in this game. The thing about Georgia is they do pretty good before conference play starts. Usually come in with a good record, and then when conference play starts, those losses start building up. But hey, who knows? It's a new season. We'll see what happens this year. Illinois, they're 9-3, beat Chicago State 117-64. Boswell for Illinois, 18 points, 10 rebounds, 10 assists. Chicago State 0-15. Man, they are looking for that first win. Milwaukee's 10-4. They beat IUI 88-81. Purdue Fort Wayne is 10-5. They beat Green Bay 83-67. Oklahoma, they are 14-0. They beat Prairie View A&M 89-67. Jalen Moore for the Sooners, 22 points. 16 of those came in the second half of that game. 9-6 Norfolk State beat 12-3 High Point by 3. SMU, they're 11-2. They beat 11-4 Longwood 98-82. SMU shot 62% from the field. Longwood shot 47% from the field. Drake, they are 13-0, beat Belmont 65-46. Drake, 19 points off of turnovers. Alabama's 11-2. They beat 9-6 South Dakota State 105-82. Alabama's Adder Holloway, 26 points. He hit 8 3-pointers. Alabama as a team hit 19 3-pointers in that one. Rounding up yesterday's basketball, Kent State is 9-3. Beat Heidelberg by 4. Sullinger for Kent State, 25 points. Indiana's 11-3. They beat 10-6 Winthrop, 77-68. Indiana attempted to shoot 20 3-pointers, only made 1 yesterday. Bradley's 11-2, beat Valparaiso 81-75. Oregon is 12-1, beat Weber State by 40. Oregon 27 points off of turnovers. 9-5 UC Riverside beat 10-5 St. Thomas, Minnesota, 81-79 in overtime. 7-7 UT Arlington beat 8-5 Texas State, 80-72. Texas State led this game by 7 at halftime. Ohio State's 9-4. They beat 8-5 Indiana State, 103-83. Ohio State's Thornton, 33 points, 6 rebounds. 4 other Buckeyes have double-digit points in that game. Texas is 12-2. They beat Northwestern State 77-53. Texas hit 11 3-pointers in that game. Wichita State's 10-3. They beat Friends, Kansas. I've never heard of them. I guess lower level school. They give Wichita State a game though. Only lost by 10. So number 21 Purdue. They moved to 9-4. Beat Toledo 83-64. Braden Smith for Purdue had 34 points in that game. LSU, they are 11-2, beat Mississippi Valley State 110-45. LSU's Carter, 23 points. He hit 5 3-pointers in that game. Miller behind him had 20 points. Michigan's 10-3. They beat Western Kentucky 112-64. Michigan, 19 3-pointers in that game. Both teams, though, did have 21 points off of turnovers. And then North Carolina, I don't know what happened to them, but hey, they won, moved to 8-5. Beat Campbell 97-81. Johnson for the Tar Heels, 26 points. Davies, 23 points, and hit 5 3-pointers in that game. All right, so upcoming today, we got a bowl game. Might be okay. Music City Bowl, 1:30 ESPN. 8-4 Iowa versus number 19, 9-3 Missouri. Both these teams have a habit of starting off slow. So I guess whoever starts off the quickest is going to win this game, but might be a pretty good one. I mean, heck, nothing else on today. There's some basketball, but later. There's basketball all day, but really not till later. There's really some good games, possible good games. Like 7 p.m. on ESPN+. Number 15, Houston versus Oklahoma State. Both of them are 8-3. That could be a pretty good one. Too bad it's not on regular TV. Interesting one here. 8 p.m., CBS Sports Network. Number 3, Iowa State, who's 10-1. Yeah, I think that's what my writing says, 10-1. Versus 9-2 Colorado. That might be a pretty good matchup there. And then 9 p.m. on ESPN+, 9-5 Santa Clara versus 11-3 San Francisco. Tomorrow football. Got quite a few games tomorrow. You could tell because of CFP, I think we got like 3 games on New Year's Day. They're all CFP games. All the other games have moved to different days. So like tomorrow, New Year's Eve, a lot of these games that are usually on New Year's Day aren't. So 11 a.m. ESPN, number 11, 9-3 Alabama versus 7-5 Michigan in the ReliaQuest, how do you say it? ReliaQuest Bowl. 1 p.m. on CBS, 8-4 Louisville versus 6-6 Washington in the Sun Bowl. Sun Bowl out in El Paso is usually a pretty good game. That one might be worth watching. 2 p.m. on ABC. This one ought to be pretty good. Number 15, South Carolina versus number 20, Illinois. Both of them are 9-3. This game is the Citrus Bowl. Citrus Bowl is usually a pretty good game every year, too. 2:30 on ESPN. Baylor versus LSU. Both 8-4. Right down the road here in the Texas Bowl. Texas Bowl's been a decent game last few years. And then we end the day, 6:30 ESPN, the CFP quarterfinal, Fiesta Bowl. 12-2 Penn State versus 12-1 Boise State. That's going to be another big game for Franklin. See if he can pull that one out. Okay, basketball, if you're not interested in any of the bowl games tomorrow. 1 p.m. on ESPN+. West Virginia versus number 7 Kansas. Both of them are 9-2. 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Utah versus number 25 Baylor. Both of them are 8-3. 1 p.m. on ESPN+. Central Florida versus Texas Tech. Both of them are 9-2. 1 p.m. on ESPN+. 10-3 VCU versus 12-1 St. Bonaventure. And then 3 p.m. on ESPN2. Arizona State versus BYU. Both of them are 9-2. So you got some decent basketball on tomorrow, too. Wednesday football, New Year's Day, CFP quarterfinal. Peach Bowl, 12-2 Texas versus 11-2 Arizona State. 12 p.m. on ESPN. I think I heard the Arizona State quarterback's already talking crap. Never talk crap before your game because a lot of times it's going to come by and bite you in the ass. I can't believe players have not learned this over the years, but some of them still don't. Then you got the Rose Bowl. 4 p.m. on ESPN. 11-2 Ohio State versus 13-0 Oregon. This game could be a good game, or Oregon could just blow them out of the water. I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen. I really don't. Sugar Bowl, 12-1 Notre Dame, who lost their leading sacker, versus 11-2 Georgia, who lost their quarterback. 7:45 ESPN. Basketball, if you're not interested in the CFP, if your team didn't make it. Number 11, 10-3 UConn versus 9-4 DePaul. That's going to be 1 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. 2 p.m. on ESPN Plus, 12-0 Drake versus 8-4 UIC. 3 p.m. on the ACC Network. This probably might be a pretty good game. 9-3 Stanford versus 10-3 Clemson. And then 6 p.m. on ESPN Plus, 11-2 Bradley versus 8-5 Indiana State. Moving to Thursday, only one bowl game, the Gator Bowl. Number 14 Ole Miss versus Duke. Both of them are 9-3. It's a primetime game too. So 6:30 on ESPN. I haven't seen if Lane Kiffin's still complaining about the CFP. Maybe New Year's night he'll complain some more about. We'll see what happens there. And then finally on Thursday, basketball. Lot of games Thursday, but like I said earlier, a couple days, most of the good ones are at night. 6 p.m. on ESPNU. 10-5 Radford versus 12-3 High Point. 6 p.m. This one would be a good one if you got Peacock. If you don't want to watch the Gator Bowl. 6 p.m. on Peacock. 10-3 Northwestern versus 11-2 Penn State. That's probably going to be a pretty good one. 6 p.m. on CBS Sports Network. 9-3 Western Kentucky versus 12-1 Liberty. 7 p.m. on Midcoast Sports. I'm not familiar with Midcoast Sports. Maybe it's a local in the region. 10-5 St. Thomas, Minnesota versus North Dakota State. 8 p.m. on ESPN Plus. 11-2 Louisiana Tech versus 10-3 UTEP. 8:30 on BTN. This might be a decent one. 11-2 Maryland versus 9-4 Washington on the Big Ten Network. And then you got a good one at night. So after the Gator Bowl, 9 p.m. FS1. Number 24, 9-3 Illinois versus number 9, 12-1 Oregon. So that'd be a hell of a game to cap off Thursday. Anyway, that's it. We'll be back probably Friday. We could be back Thursday, but I'm not sure with all the New Year's and everything going on. But definitely Friday to recap what happened and go over what's coming up this weekend because conference play is starting in basketball. We've got the CFP. We're going to go over everything that happened in those games. Anyway, hope you're off this week. If not, sucks. But hey, you get a break in the middle of the week. Be safe this New Year's. Don't be stupid. Don't get out there and drink and drive because nothing good could come of it. You can hurt yourself, hurt someone else, or you're going to be on probation paying a crap load of money and visiting the court a crap load of times, doing a crap load of community service. You don't need that. Have somebody else drive you or spend the night wherever you're partying at. Anyway, y'all have a safe and happy New Year. We will see you Friday.